Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, we have the NCL Joy is late getting back to port, which is causing havoc with its passengers getting home, as well as the passengers on the next cruise. It's a Canadian cruise and they're losing 2 of their ports on the next call because of the delay. We also have a warning for some passengers as 50 passengers were left stranded standing on a dock and not allowed to get on the ship, as well as another warning for passengers. Don't get this surprise bill when you get home from traveling anywhere, let alone on a cruise, but especially on a cruise. So first off, the quick news, NCL Joy was in Bermuda and the storm that just left, it turned into a tropical storm from the hurricane. However, it has not dissipated quite as fast as everybody was expecting it in the weather service. And they had a lot of rough seas in port in Bermuda, and you could see waves crashing over the docks and stuff like that. So the ship had to remain moored in Bermuda. Well, that causes a delay. Instead of getting back when it should, it will now get back 1 day late, which will impact people's flights, getting home, once again, delays, etc. However, it is really affecting also the next cruise, which heads up into Canada, and it was supposed to have a stop in Boston and in Maine, and both of those stops are now canceled. Instead, it will head straight to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and it will stop in Quebec City, and I think it's Charlottetown as well. So it is doing those stops. Once it gets into Halifax, everything after that will continue. However, the 2 American stops seems to have disappeared off the calendar, all because of a 1 day delay on the ship. However, to make up a little bit for it, they are giving more time in port in Halifax, another hour and a half in one, another hour and a bit in another, to make up somewhat. But it will be disappointing for those on the Joy that, hey, 2 of your stops are gone, not to mention the extra expenses of having to spend another night in a hotel after arriving and your ship hasn't arrived. I'm heading to New York in a matter of weeks, a couple weeks. Exactly from today, 14 days as a matter of fact. I'm flying into New York for my Canadian cruise on the Caribbean Princess. Please don't let there be delays, please. At least most people on my cruise have taken my advice and gotten insurance, which is a good thing. So we'll see what happens with that. 50 cruise passengers on the Pacific Explorer P&O cruise ship were left stranded in a dock. That's right, stranded on a dock in Auckland and refused entry onto the ship because they did not have visas to get into Australia, even though they were told by their travel agent that Norfolk Island, which is a small island off the coast, if you were a official New Zealand resident, you did not need to have a visa to visit that island in particular. Well, apparently that wasn't the case, and you actually did need this. Now, if you go to P&O's website and you check on there, it does say that you do need to have a visa for there. And if you go to, Australia's website, it will tell you you need a visa to go there as well, even if you are a resident of New Zealand. However, P&O Cruise Line, a particular agent dealing with P&O Cruise Line, told the travel agency who made these bookings repeatedly that they did not need one. And they have documented records of a P&O representative telling them multiple times they did not need a visa. That's completely different than, say, you and I made a booking And then we found out, oh, they told me that I don't need a booking. I don't need to have a visa. And I didn't go and get one, and I didn't double check. However, when it's a representative in writing, you know, it's one thing on the phone, it's another thing in writing. And they have all these contacts and documentation and emails back and forth from not only the passengers, but the travel agency as well, dealing with customer service at P&O Cruise Line, who gave out the wrong information. Now, P&O Cruise Line has said that they will have issued refunds and are also giving back onboard credits. Some passengers have reported spending over $15,000 on this cruise that they weren't able to go on, not to mention all the expenses of everything going on there. Now, luckily, it's not a lot of travel for a lot of these people. It's a short distance in travel because these people were all New Zealand residents leaving from New Zealand. So it wasn't like they flew in from the United States or something like that, which would have really upped the cost. But it just goes to show that's one of those things that everybody needs to check for themselves to guarantee you always go to the country that you're visiting. If you have multiple countries on your visit, especially going through like someplace like China, Japan, you know, Norway, going anywhere into Europe, Australia, someplace out of the ordinary, double check. You know, Caribbean is one thing. Yes, I'm going to the Caribbean. Every island is basically the same, and it will cover the same rules. But when you're going that far distance, double check all the entry requirements. And especially Australia and New Zealand now, they've changed and have a new visa policy for both places. They're not the same country. So many people think New Zealand and Australia are the exact same country, and they're not. They are two different countries with two different entry requirements. So yeah, you got to check that out as well. So yeah, I also have another warning for you. A woman just got back from a cruise in the Caribbean, and she lives in Europe. And her normal phone bill is around 35 pounds, which, you know, let's say $35, $40 American. Well, when she got home, surprise, her phone bill was almost 1,200 pounds. So, you know, a lot higher. And she says she bought a data plan and extra phone time to make sure that she was covered on her vacation, knowing she would probably spend a little more in data and that contacting on Facebook with her friends. What she didn't count on is the fact that if you don't put your phone on airplane mode and connect to the Wi-Fi on the ship, the phone will automatically, wherever you are, reach out for a service, and you will now have roaming charges on there. And not only roaming charges, if you're, say, on a cruise ship in the Caribbean and you pull into port, you'll have that port's roaming charges. But if you're at sea, you hook up to the maritime satellites, which are 10 times more expensive than a land-based charge. And if your roaming charges are out there and you're hooked up to one of those, it's going to be astronomical. Now, she did contact the phone company and they agreed to half that bill, and she's learned a vital lesson. But here is the light. And she says next time she'll make sure she's only using her service when she's in a coffee shop and can connect to the Wi-Fi. Here's the thing. The minute you're leaving, the minute you're getting ready to leave your city, turn your plane on airplane mode and hook up to the local Wi-Fi. And that includes on the ship. If you hook up to your Wi-Fi on the ship, you can do Wi-Fi calling, you can do all that without that big bill and without that big charge. But if you do not, and you keep on the roaming charges, can you imagine if you were on a longer than a 7-day cruise and perhaps were on a 14-day cruise and you get back and you got a $3,000 phone bill because you basically made like 4 calls or texted your friends 3 or 4 times on the ship? Well, all those roaming charges will add up. Now, a lot of people know this, but apparently a lot of people still don't. Always, always, when you're on a ship, have your phone on airplane mode, or you may be experiencing some huge bills. Even if you have international calling, I have international calling, and I can still get hit with roaming charges for maritime charges if I'm at sea. Just as a heads up, there's some bills you don't want to get surprised when you get back from your cruise. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.